God. I've had a shit day. This isn't a bit. I really have had a terrible day. The air compressor in my car broke, so my car is spewing out magma air in this summer heat. And then my phone had to get upgraded and messed up a bunch of crap. All the apps are messed up. The phone number's wrong. Had to be on the phone with my phone provider for like hours. I have to go to the DMV because the registration of my car's expired. I didn't realize it. Ah! Hey, if you want to help a friend out, subscribe to my Patreon at patreon.com/MatthewDonald. There you can find bonus content for Paleobites, like where we discuss pop culture featuring prehistoric animals. This month we're talking about Walking with Dinosaurs. Yeah! The classic 1999 BBC documentary. Classic. I said classic twice. It's because I've had a crap day. My brain is just spaghetti and ants. Trying to turn these turd nuggets into gold nuggets, or however the saying goes. So subscribe to my Patreon. Link is in the description. Thank you for your support. Have a good day. Certainly a better day than I have.
Roar, growl, snarl, bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast whose humor is bone dry. My name's Matthew Donald. And each week, I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate a genus of prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week, I'm joined by someone who's they're quite wet in their humor. No, that sounds weird. No, it's Laura Owsley. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you, Matt?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
I would say my humor is very moist.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it can be a little dry sometimes. Like
really
dry, like sardonic British sense of humor. I guess.
Fair. I do love good dry humor, right?
Yeah.
When it's done well. Sometimes you have people who are like, oh no, the humor in this show is dry. And you're like, no, the humor in this show is not existent. It's just not funny.
Well, it's better than it's like someone just says something just completely offensive. And it's like, it's satire.
Oh, honestly. They're like, oh, well, you just don't like dark comedy. It's like, I make dark jokes all day long. I don't like offensive jokes.
Right, exactly. I mean, humor is... One thing I don't really like... The humor I don't like is cringe humor. Like The Office, I can't watch. Parks and Rec is something I much prefer over...
Secondhand embarrassment is painful.
Yeah, like you've seen both of those shows, right?
Oh, sure.
Oh, of course. So, The Office, that dinner party episode, is one of the most painful experiences. Yeah. But some people are like, oh, it's the best episode. I'm like, well, I guess if you like that's the humor it is. But
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. To be honest, I really loved The Office when it was coming out in 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Right? And I was watching it like every Thursday with my family. But like, I don't want to rewatch it and like risk those good memories that I have.
Kind of how I feel about FernGully.
Yeah.
I remember really liking it as a kid. I have not bothered to see it since.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, let's just keep it with that magical, mystical memories that I can. Although I have seen clips of like that smoke monster with Tim Curry voices. You know, you've seen FernGully, right? Have you?
No.
It's a little kids. It's an environmentalist movie from the 90s. It's about this rainforest and there's fairies and there's a monster named Hexus that's like loves pollution and smog, and he sings this very sexual Tim Curry style song called "Toxic Love." His mannerisms, I swear, it made me question my sexuality.
This all feels very Tim Curry to me. Yeah.
Like I don't know, my fiance has said that like
soft brag.
Yeah, of course. My fiance has said that I am an honorary bi because I have a lot of the bi stereotypes without actually being bisexual.
So have you heard the phrase bi wife energy?
No.
I encourage you to do some TikToking after this and look up the phrase, because I feel like that's kind of what you're describing.
Well, my fiance is bi too. So,
yeah.
So, but like, I feel like because like there have been a few times where I've been like, oh, that man's attractive. I've never wanted to kiss a man, so I don't know. I don't know if that's the line or not.
Tends to be the tell, yeah.
Yeah, because like I know some people are like 90% straight. It's never like, oh, if you're bi, that means you're attracted to both. Or all genders equally, you know, like, so.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it can be a spectrum, right? Like, you can be more attracted to this, that, the other. That's a very demeaning way to describe
this,
sexuality.
that, the other. Which one's this? Which one's that? Which one's the other?
Who knows, honestly.
But okay, so I actually this segues very well to the dinosaur related question I was going to, because I was gonna, because like this is something that I think you might actually enjoy about Jurassic Park, your favorite film series.
My
Not that you
favorite
don't
film
already,
series.
not that you don't already enjoy it, but
Yeah, of course.
but I crap you not. One of the major plot points, if you haven't heard, of the first movie involves trans dinosaurs.
Casual.
Like, they don't call it that, but like, so
It's essentially
because what happened is one of the security procedures they have is that they make all the dinosaurs female, so they can control when they make new batches of eggs and they don't breed on their own. It's like, that we, every animal starts out female, but they're given an enzyme that turns them male. And we just deny them the enzyme, and that's what they say. But then Malcolm's always like, life finds a way. So they talk about like when bring the dinosaurs back, they get the DNA from a mosquito, and that it's trapped in amber from dinosaur times. This is all but listeners, except for you, already know all this, but I'm explaining it to you. So
I appreciate the explanation, and
Of
maybe
course.
it's a refresher for the listener. Who
Right,
knows?
right. They haven't seen it in a while, maybe.
Yeah.
It is an old-ish movie. It came out 30 years ago this year. Oh,
Oof.
so this gets some of the DNA, but DNA, it's not the complete DNA. You can't get the complete, because there's so much DNA in something. The nice thing about DNA is most of it's unwritten, so they can just fill in the gaps with just whatever. Because it's not like, so the way they do is they fill them in with the gaps of frogs is what they choose. Although they use birds later on, which makes way more sense.
Yeah.
But it doesn't turn the dinosaurs into part frogs. What it does do is that because like most DNA is unwritten, it just takes the unwritten DNA of a frog and puts it in the unwritten DNA of the dinosaur and just makes a full dinosaur. So. So that's the thing that they use. It's very scientific. That's how it works. But the way they didn't account for is that well, actually no, it is scientific. But you laugh. But when Michael Crichton first wrote the book, there was nothing that said that this couldn't work. Like it was possible. We just later found out the DNA decays, and it's like, oh, I guess it wouldn't work.
Fair.
So what the creators of Jurassic Park didn't account for is the fact that some frogs in Africa are hermaphrodites, and in a same-sex environment, that some of them change from male to female or female to male to keep the species going. And since the dinosaurs were all female, some of them were like, okay, in order to survive, they have the gene. They actually gave the genomes of these frogs that they can change them to, and so they find out they're breeding anyways because some of them became male. So
you done messed up.
Yep, that's one of the ways they messed up. So, anyways, the whole point of this is that since Jurassic Park is very good trans representation
of course,
of dinosaurs.
Right.
So, what other dinosaur series or things? I know you know so many.
So many.
Would you think we would like to add some good LGBTQ representation?
Oh,
That's my long-winded way to
sure.
ask you that question.
I think it would be, this is going to sound like such a cop-out because I obviously am very, very well versed in everything prehistoric media.
Of course. Well, like if you like Land Before Time, you're like...
Well, I was going to say Land Before Time.
You could turn Sarah lesbian, is that where you're going?
Yes, that's where I was going, obviously.
Of course.
Yes.
Makes sense. She does have that lesbian energy, or bi energy. Like, well, no, she's a triceratops, a biceratops.
Yeah. She's got to be pan in that case.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. Isn't there trisexual? Isn't that a term?
It's an outdated term.
Okay, well, okay.
I think it was like a 90s thing.
Okay.
Like that.
Because back when they thought non-binary was kind of like the third gender rather than just kind of neither. Yeah, like... So after all that, but anyways, we're talking about a really, really new creature called Perucetus. I almost want to call it Perucetus because that rolls off the tongue better than Perucetus, even though it's named after Peru, I think.
I'd assume. I mean, I don't know things. I assume it's Perucetus.
Perucetus. So I've actually called it like Perucetus just to kind of like make the syllables all flow with each other. That's why. It means Peruvian whale. Makes sense,
Fair, makes sense.
Yeah. Guess what country it's from?
Japan?
Yeah, you nailed it.
I knew it!
Yeah. I was going to say Uruguay.
Oh.
Okay. So, all right. So Perucetus is like, it's got some interesting stuff with it. It's made the news really recently for big reasons.
Oh.
Type is a basilosaurid, a group of early whales that still retained their hind limbs.
Okay.
And have very serpentine bodies. You know how whales nowadays, they just have their front flippers, but there's nothing in the back?
Sure.
These still have little flippers in the back.
Oh.
So they hadn't quite fully atrophied yet. So
Well, thank you for that explanation. I know that, like, the listeners probably know these things.
Right,
like,
right.
Oh.
Okay, so size. Hoo boy.
Okay.
All right, so it's only at first 55 to 65 feet / 17 to 20 meters long.
Oh.
Well, I mean, come on, you compare that to a blue whale, which is like something's 100 feet long.
Fair.
But its weight has been estimated to be anywhere from 85 to 375 tons.
That is, first of all, a very large spectrum.
Well, they don't know because, the limited remains they found so far.
I guess that's fair. That's fair. I forget this is a new creature.
They've been uncovering it from a cliff. Its head's been caught in a cliff for a while. Like, they're still trying to get it out, and they're being very careful and very meticulous.
That makes sense.
But yeah, so if that upper estimate is true, that's almost like twice as heavy as a blue whale.
Hey.
So you know how, like, I've always joked on the show, it's like, oh, everything is so much bigger back in prehistoric times. You got bigger beavers, bigger dogs, bigger snakes, bigger crocodiles, but whales, they seem to be the biggest now. Turns out that's not even true.
So everything I've learned on this podcast is a lie.
Yeah, everything.
I knew it.
Every single thing. Gasosaurus, remember when we did that episode? It's actually Liquidosaurus.
Oh, sure.
Or Plasmasaurus.
Not Solidosaurus?
Not Solidosaurus, no.
Solid liquid, yes.
So I had a really dumb thought the other day where I was like, why is it called gas if it's liquid? And I was like, it's short for gasoline. It's a different type of gas. It's not gas as in gassy.
Yeah, no, that's not.
Why is it called gasoline? I don't know. Get into it somewhere. I'm no fossil fuelist.
Yeah, there's probably, a whole Wikipedia page dedicated to that exact question.
Right. I mean, there's the classic joke with like, oh, we fuel our cars with dinosaurs or whatever. It's not.
Sure.
That's not where we get our fossil fuels. It's from like algae and other stuff. But it's more fun to say, oh, that means since we get plastic from oil, that means our plastic dinosaurs are made from real dinosaurs. But that's not true, unfortunately.
But like,
it's fun to think about.
If we all believe it hard enough, is it true? Is that
clap
how
your hands
works?
if you believe?
I believe in Tinkerbell.
I believe in plastic dinosaurs are real dinosaurs. Come on, listeners. We believe that plastic dinosaurs are real dinosaurs. Anyway.
So,
all right. So diet carnivore, we believe, although the skull hasn't been found yet. Considering every other cetacean, like whales, is a carnivore, it seems like this one was too.
Is that why? Is that like the vast majority of whales?
Yeah, because like even blue whales, like krill is meat.
That's fair.
So like, that cetaceans are in the even-toed ungulate group, so they're like related to pigs and hippos and horses. Not horses, that's odd-toed. Pig and deer and other stuff. If you look up artiodactyls on Wikipedia, there's like a list of all of them. Whales are right there.
This is as much of a betrayal as when I learned that a tomato is a fruit.
Yeah. It's a nightshade. Tomato is.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm no fruitist. Horticulturalist.
I'm only
botanist.
growing one on my patio. I don't know.
I'm not growing anything on my patio. Except for mold, I guess, because I need to clean out there.
Mold is a valid.
But this one probably didn't feed on krill. It wasn't like probably a super predator either. We think it probably fed on like a bunch of clams and like sea carcasses. It also lived in shallower waters.
Oh.
So it was kind of like a manatee, except it didn't feed on grass.
So if it lived in shallower waters, is that part of the reason we think that it probably went extinct? Because
it just kept beaching itself. It was so big. No.
Right. Well, like, I don't claim to know things. But like, don't you need a certain amount of water pressure for those types of large creatures to exist?
But if those creatures exist like that already, that means they figured it out for a bit. So
fair,
man, but it's enormous, man. Time late Eocene, 39 to 37 million years ago, which is just a short time after the dinosaurs died out, for a mammal to go from a little tree climbing shrew-like thing to this giant whale. Like, it's crazy how fast it works sometimes, especially when there's like niches that need filling, So, so location in Peru, it's in the name.
Fair.
By the way, have you ever had a Peruvian Chinese food?
No.
The way they use the spices makes it quite delicious.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Quick, let's go to Peru.
Yes.
Who needs a savings account? We don't have one anyways.
We're millennials. What are you trying to say for a house? Come on.
Described 2023. In fact, just 2 weeks ago. This episode comes out on time.
Look at this. Look at this.
Very current, if I do say so myself. Speaking of currents, this was a sea creature.
Yeah.
we sound like Beavis and Butthead the way we're laughing.
Honestly.
Pop culture appearances. Again, this was described just 2 weeks ago, but it's already flooded the paleo art scene with many different pictures of it blubbering around, often with a scuba diver for reference. Have you seen any of these pictures when you've been on your Google?
I have, actually. The scuba diver looks like...
He's like, what the hell am I doing here?
Well, like, he's trying to swim away in the worst way possible. Like, he looks like he's backstroking away from the creature.
Well, I feel like, honestly, like, the way this thing works is, it's sort of like how when the Titanic sank, this is true. I don't know if this is true. This is what Leonardo DiCaprio said. I believe him.
Okay.
When it fell into the ocean, you had to really push yourself up because the motion of the ship going under the water would also might suck you down with it.
Yeah.
So it's not just like, oh, you land on the water and oh, you're fine, you're floating while it sinks. No, the water pressure sucks you down.
Yeah, no, that's a
so
part of the reason why Margaret Molly Brown,
yeah,
who is our like big Denver Titanic survivor.
that's right. She's from Denver. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So Margaret Brown, or Molly Brown, as we know her better, Molly Brown. Part of the reason why she survived and her lifeboat survived is partially because they just were rowing away from the sinking ship.
Right.
Right? Like, if they were too close to the ship, they would have been sucked down.
Well, that's what my point is. Like, that's what I'm assuming the scuba diver was doing. He was the current of the thing. Well, you know, if it's flowing towards you, you think it'd be pushed forward. So
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm no water physicist.
How dare you?
Plus,
you said this thing is carnivorous, so maybe he's just like...
Get me the hell away from this thing.
Yeah.
So, when Perucetus is first discovered, only a few vertebrae currently are known, but the vertebrae are heavier, like 3 times heavier than that of a blue whale's. Although I should point out that blue whale vertebrae are much lighter than we thought than you think they would be for an animal that size. This did also probably have fewer vertebrae than most of its. The thing about the basilosaurids, this group of mammals, the whales, they ended saurus because they look so much like lizards. They look like sea serpents. So. And we first found Basilosaurus, which was the first of these whales that we found. We thought it was a big sea serpent. It was in the 1800s when we found this. But then once we found out it was a whale, the name stuck because that's kind of how it is with science. Like, the name of science sticks.
I have a question that you might not.
No questions allowed. Yeah,
fair enough.
No. So sorry. What's your question?
So you might not have an answer for this.
Oh.
Do we think that's like part of the tie to the mythology around like water dragons and how like every culture has some variation?
Potentially,
of
if they found their bones, like they think sometimes that the Chinese found dinosaur fossils and thought they were like bones. There's a lot of prehistoric creatures like that that are inspirations behind myths. I mentioned this on the show before, but these elephant skulls. It's this little dwarf elephant in Sicily, and its skulls. When people first found these skulls, it's where they came up with the myth of the Cyclops. Because if you look at an elephant skull, there's a big hole in the middle where the trunk is.
That makes a lot of sense.
So they're like, that's a big eye socket, right? So...
I mean, I'd probably think the same thing. Right?
Yeah, so like, Cyclops.
So that's something that, like, I had to, like, unlearn as, like, a teenager, is the story of David and Goliath. I think for some reason I, like, just pictured always in my head of, like, it was a cyclops. And my mom was like, no, it's just a very, very tall person.
So they found this thing in a cliff, and they've been working on digging it up, and its head is buried into this. That's probably how it died. Just, I don't know, actually, that's not so. I'm just making that up. So they have not found its skull yet. So any of these pictures of its skull where it looks teeny tiny, that's just what we think of so far, based on, like, the family. But, like, its bones are just so dense. We're using, like, some BMI stuff, but it's not body mass index, it's bone mass index. It's specific fossil stuff. And again, like BMI for us, it's never meant to be like an exact model of how big things are. It's kind of meant to give you a relative idea.
Fair.
So like if you look at me, like, I'm considered obese according to BMI. So, and look at this big Jabba the Hutt thing I am. So that's very accurate. No, but
you and this creature have so much in common.
Yeah, we're both big blubbery whales.
No.
I'm just missing the slug tail, the frogs to eat on, and then the bikini-clad slave. So
see, that's all you need.
That
really.
is all I need.
Then you'll be Jabba the Hutt.
Then I'll be Jabba the Hutt, and that story ends well for him, right?
I think so.
He went on to conquer the galaxy. He wasn't killed by the very chain that bound that slave, and the sign of femininity, feminine power, by using the chain that bound her to get rid of the oppressor.
Yeah, that movie ended so well for him.
Yeah. He's off doing spice, or is that dude? I don't know. Honestly, all this sci-fi stuff I love sci-fi, but I'm not really the biggest fan of Dune, and not really Star Wars either.
No. I'm pretty meh on a lot of sci-fi.
You know the main character of Dune's name is Paul?
That is almost upsetting.
I mean, I know that the main character of Star Wars is Luke, so I really shouldn't have much to complain on, but
Paul is just so... Well, yeah.
Like,
Paul. Isn't there a Nickelodeon, like creature named Paul? I want to say like a chimpanzee or something.
A Nickelodeon creature named Paul.
It used to be like
There's an alien movie called Paul that came out years ago.
I'm going to do a quick Google.
Okay, while you're doing a quick Google search about this very important thing.
Yes.
So... notably, whales have much larger skeletons compared to their total mass, whereas sirenians, like dugongs and manatees, are similar to land mammals and having much denser skeletons that contribute more to their weight. While it's been difficult to determine the weight of basilosaurids so far, they suggest the increase in skeletal mass has been compensated by larger amounts of blubber, which is less dense than other soft tissue. So a whale's blubber doesn't weigh as much as other soft tissue. So that's why there's this huge range in the calculations between like 94 to 375 tons, because we just don't know.
Fair.
Like, it probably was somewhere in the middle.
Sure.
So that's more accurate. Obviously, even though it had those back legs, it couldn't go on land. Far too big. But it's also with its dense bones, which is more like a manatee. We think it stuck to shallower waters. Since no skull has been found, its diet is also mysterious. There's so little we know. All we know about this thing is that it's big.
Fair.
It's big. Might have had a manatee tail rather than a whale tail, so like a fluke like that. I don't know.
Hey.
So yeah, do you know manatee tails? I don't know.
Yeah. Sure.
There's like paddles rather than like crescents.
That's really interesting though. Like, for as much as we're learning, we are actively learning.
Oh yeah, there's always more stuff to learn. More stuff to. Yeah, but until we learn more, Perucetus colossus. That's its full name. It could be the biggest animal ever, and so quick after the dinosaurs too. Crazy.
Yeah.
So let's rate it 1 out of 65 million. I'm gonna rate it 375 million based on how many tons that it might have been.
Fair.
I mean, it's not millions of tons. So.
Sure.
But,
fair. I think I'll rate it 367 pounds of blubber.
Okay, cool. Good to get some whale oil from that. Can you imagine all the oil you could get from it?
Yeah, that's enough to power
at least 2 boats.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
And be taken down by orcas.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, they do love that stuff. Yeah. Orcas do love taking down whales and boats, particularly yachts. We're Team Orca on this podcast.
Always.
Like, we're pro orchestra, so...
It's the first time I've heard that.
You've never heard the orchestra pun?
No.
They're orchestrating their attack against the rich people.
Right. Great.
Come on, as someone who loves puns as much as
That's
you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Also,
yes.
I'm not a crazy person. That's Paul.
Oh, wow. I've never heard of that.
What?
That's brand new to me. DNA Productions, is that what it says there?
Yeah, it was like their outro. Or like a lot of Nickelodeon stuff.
Oh, so it wasn't like a show. It was kind of like it was kind of like their equivalent of like their new like Orange Goop or whatever.
Almost.
Yeah, it's kind of like okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know he had a name.
Yeah, apparently he would say, "Hi, I'm Paul."
Hi, I'm Paul. Why does he have 3 eyes?
I think so.
Why does he have 3 eyes? Did he channel his inner?
His inner third eye.
Yeah, his inner third eye. He's achieved enlightenment and tranquility.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's why he's so chill. That at any time you say, he's just like, "Hi, I'm Paul."
Yeah, because he's already can see the foundations and fabric of the universe.
Yeah,
and is totally content with it.
And that's why he's no longer on Nickelodeon. He knew too much.
Yeah, and so they killed him.
Shame.
Anyways, that's it for this week. From to get hold of the show, you can contact me at paleobitespodcast@gmail.com. We have our own email now.
Oh,
yeah.
fancy.
And paleobitespod@twitter.com. Yes, Twitter. It's not X. I refuse.
I just deleted it from my phone.
Yeah.
I felt weird. I was looking at it, I was like, I feel like people are going to think this is an inappropriate.
Yeah, it's called like X videos. Like, that's might as well have called it like hamster vid or whatever those other ones are called. Yeah, see, let's see, hold on, let's see here. Yeah, just look at X there.
Yeah,
it looks weird.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Mom. It's not.
It's not what
it looks like. Oh my God, Elon Musk is an idiot. All right, so you can find me at PaleBitesPod on Twitter and PaleBites Podcast on Instagram. Where can they find you?
They can find me, Laura, at Thespian Laura, ThespianLaura. I am on, I was on Twitter, and now I'm really not there that often anymore, but maybe I'll come back.
Well, Twitter's not on Twitter anymore.
That's fair. That's fair. Must kind of
Threads now, which would be funny if they just we're going to rename this Twitter.
Honestly,
the name Twitter's available now.
It's available, but I'm on Instagram. I am actually on TikTok. I don't post, but you can come be my friend, and I will send you chaotic videos.
You're on Facebook occasionally, right?
I am on the Facebooks, but I can't imagine you would just want to send me a friend request.
That's true. That's kind of not how it works. All right, well, that's it for this week. See you at the end of every episode of Paleo Bites.
These are my best whale noises.
Paul, third eye, enlightenment.
Perfect. We nailed it.
All right.